Guys, welcome to the On Deck channel. This is a completely different format than videos that I've been putting out for a while now. The videos that I've been rolling out have all been informational videos built around helping inform cruisers out there, making purchasing decisions, doing little how-tos and installation videos, and that's been great. But my heart for the channel has been to create episodes built around the installs that the yacht rigger is doing whenever they're outfitting the boats that keep our dreams afloat as we go out there and enjoy the water. So we are launching this as episode 1, season 1 of what we call the Focus Projects. I'm really looking forward to it because I think it's a really cool way to get inspired, to be entertained, and really to learn how they accomplish the things that they accomplish doing such bespoke, cutting edge installs on these boats. So I hope you guys enjoy this new show format. We'll still have the regular content coming out, and let's get into this 2013 Summerland 40 Fountaine Pajot and hear from Will about all the crazy stuff that this boat is going to be getting.
All of this was already recorded?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awkward.
Yeah.
Out there, I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, I'm uncomfortable. Because you don't know what your own voice sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Good morning. My name's Will. I'm the general manager here at the Yacht Rigger, and I'm going to talk about a new project that we've got going on. As most of you guys know, we're primarily a sailing community, but this particular one, we've got a new power catamaran that we're going to be showing a couple of series on. The boat's a 2013 Fountaine Pajot Summerland 40. So she's got 10 years of water under her hulls, and she's ready to be upgraded. Full Victron lithium conversion, so that's going to include 6 24-volt 200 amp hour lithium batteries, a full battery management system, the servos, the touches that you guys have seen in previous episodes, and all of that fun stuff. A full 4-frame custom stainless steel arch that's going to attach to the rear eyebrow with stainless steel down legs down to each one of the sugar scoops, and that's going to house 400-watt Hyundai bifacial solar panels. Each one of those is going to have a dedicated MPP charge controller. And then from there, one of the things that's new, as many of you guys know or who are familiar with boats, most generators on boats are, they're AC power, right? And this particular project is actually going to have a DC generator installed. So you'll learn a lot more about that later in the show. I can't actually explain it to you anyway. So we'll see what happens when the experts talk to you guys about that in an episode or two. We fully expected a little bit of scope creep, but I got to get my paper out for this one because it went from what I just talked about to a whole list of stuff. We're doing a full Victron lithium conversion, 6 24-volt 200 amp hour lithium batteries, a full battery management system, the servos, the touches that you can house, 400-watt Hyundai bifacial solar panels. It's going to have a dedicated MPP charge controller, a DC generator installed, full electric head conversion. So we're going to put a high output Rain Man water maker on the boat, FLIR camera, night vision, new ice maker, water heater. Specifically asked for 2 disco balls to be installed. We're talking a full electrical, shoots lasers, really fun style disco ball.
This boat is getting so much stuff done on it. It's going to be really cool to watch. I have no idea how they're going to fit all those things. That's quite a lot going on. So, I don't even know how they're going to fit that 48 volt, 10,000 watt inverter, which at 12 volts would be 40,000 watts. That thing is a monster. How that's even going to fit, how they're even going to get it on the wall, right? And then they got to get the whole expanded PVC board in there and that whole thing. And there's some concerns that I've heard within the electrical team about fitment for all of this.
And what we're doing is we're taking out an old solar regulation system, and he had a wind generator at some time on this boat, I think before he owned it. And so we're removing some of that old electronics so that we can put new Victron solar regulators. He's having more solar panels put up, so we're going to have more regulators. He has some existing flexible panels up on top of his bimini that we're incorporating into the system. So this area right here, I'm having to take this electronics out to make room for the new units. This is going to be his inverter. I think it's a 10,000 kW inverter that's going to go right here. It sticks out to roughly here. We had to move the AC panel, input panel down here, and this is going to end up being incorporated into the existing shore power circuit breaker panel. This way we can do away with this. It's not necessary. I'm putting some 12-volt circuit breaker for smaller accessory type circuits here, so that it'll have a 12-volt buses right here. On this side, he had a diesel heater here that had the outlet here. We've taken this all out. We're taking out the diesel heater right here. And this side will have a modular unit that Nicholas is making. It'll have the distributor, the battery management system, some T1 fusing, and like that. And then so the batteries will end up right here where I'm sitting. There'll be 4 of them, and it's a 24-volt system, and the batteries themselves are 12 volts. So there'll be 2 batteries in series to make the 24 volts. So there'll be 2 sets of 24-volt batteries going into the system.
Nice. Is there any like design challenges around any of this that you're trying to figure out?
The biggest thing is thinking ahead of time how much things we're going to be putting in here. That's something I like to know ahead, how much we need to fit in here, and then conceptualizing how it needs to be laid out. And also having enough room for ventilation, because these regulators and these units need to have space around them to dissipate heat. There's so much new equipment that needs to be fit in here. We're not sure how it's all going to lay out at the moment.
It is Monday morning and the electrical team is meeting, and so they're meeting right outside my studio. So I'm going to peek the camera out there and see what we can glean in this initial team meeting, and how Frank Chitwood, head of the electrical department, is assigning the tasks and kind of what that looks like on their approach they take as it gets into outfitting this power cat.
And so one of the first things that needs to be done is to figure out exactly what, which size heat shrink to use, and then like how far can you come in with it. While you're doing that, Nicholas is going to modify the cabinet. You need to cut that board so that you can still open this part and this bead here. So what we're going to do is just take that piece, make it static, and this piece will be able to lift up to get all the fittings, because all the fittings are over here. So you'll start with that. Then we need to get all of these loaded onto a pallet and forklifted onto the boat, and we should do that before lunch.
My groin a little bit, so I don't want to push it.
So I just got a call on this stove, and the fact that their new induction cooktop doesn't fit, and they're going to have to do some problem solving surrounding this. So let's cut over to Brian and see what he has to say about the approach that they're kind of thinking about in dealing with this issue that they're stuck on. Hey, how you doing?
Okay, so Frank, our electrical lead here, has told us that the customer would like to remove the propane stovetop and put an induction in. And so when we go ahead and remove this, and we see that the depth and size is noticeably different. And so this way it fits, would need a ring, but if you look at all the writing on this, all the controls are on this side and it says induction this way, so we should probably orient it some way like this. Now, that's going to cause a problem, so we have to trim the countertop. And once we trim the countertop to get this to go in, we also see that the depth of this is going to be hitting this, and it also has cooling fans down there, so it has to have some airflow. So the only way that I see to do something like this is to pick up and raise up the ring, and then we have to figure out a way to plug up this hole. Since there's black countertops, and I'm looking around the boat trying to see how we can tie this in to make it look like it wasn't an afterthought and it wasn't a fix to a problem so much as it was just the way it is the first idea I'm coming up with is maybe getting a piece of black starboard or HDPE and cutting a piece that goes in here and drops in, and allows this to sit up a little bit, maybe not this high, but up a little bit like this, then this area here will be covered up with maybe some drain rings or something, so that this could be an extension of a cutting board, so you could have countertop and still use it. But that's going to be a question we're going to talk to the customer about and see what kind of aesthetics they're after and what would be the most useful. So if it's a cutting board that they're after, that might be helpful. If they don't want a cutting board, we'll have to figure out a way to tile this in and make it look right.
Andre's going to give us a quick little demo on how they do the expanded PVC build out and how they build what the layout looks like for this particular boat.
Rolling.
Hang on, I gotta think about this.
You're supposed to know.
Get that on there. Andre being unsure.
Wait, wait a second. What's happening?
All right, so this is basically a distribution system. We're gonna have the 4 batteries down here. They're gonna kind of come up to the Lynx power in. They're gonna each have a Class T fuse on the batteries. And this is just a straight power in going to the BMS. We've connected everything with copper bars. That makes the installation a little bit easier to accomplish and compact in some ways. So we have the main 500 amp Class T fuse right here with the main disconnect with a manual switch to a distributor. This distributor, we're going to have multiple sources out here, and then the main negative over here. Here's we've just tapped off of the end of the links here with another Class T fuse. This will be for the inverter. So this will be the main disconnect for the inverter, and this is the main lithium disconnect for the entire system. So everything is built in the shop, and then we can bring it to the boat and install it, and it makes things a little bit faster and cleaner.
All right, so some of the ideas that John and Barry had about their Summerland or Sutherland 40 is they came to me and they told me that they were going to be making a fiberglass hardtop for the back of the area to shade the back cockpit, and I instantly thought that it would be much nicer to shade that area with solar panels. They wanted an enclosure.
Yeah, it'll be an enclosure, all right.
He was telling me he was going to build a fiberglass hardtop to be an enclosure, and he wanted shade and shelter on the back deck. And then he said, well, I'm not so sure about the solar. And I said, well, what if I made the aft deck shaded with solar? And that's where he was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
And so I showed him all the pictures of the bifacials and how they look like a pergola and how beautiful they look from underneath.
Totally.
And he was like, oh, well.
Yeah.
And so we're coming up with all kinds of custom stuff to keep it sealed for water so that it can be an enclosure. Yes, thank you.
We have to take this off at some point.
Sick.
What I came up with was bifacial solar panels so that you can see translucent light through it, and it becomes kind of a pergola look on the back of the boat. It's really quite pleasant. And it shades the whole aft area of the boat, and it also shades the dinghy, so that it doesn't really need a sun cover on the dinghy as well. Some of the other things they're going to ask me about, I know that we're thinking about doing it, but we haven't really committed yet, was a articulating dinghy davit system that picks it up off the water and puts it onto the hull tunnel, or the space in between the two catamaran hulls, and stows that in a way that doesn't obstruct too much view. What we were working on today was getting the height of the solar frame correct. John is a very tall guy, so I wanted it to go very high up, but he was saying he wanted it as low as possible. So the best way to have that arm wrestle is to mock it up both ways and stand underneath it and see how it works. So I first set it up the way he had asked for it to be low, and then we came and stood underneath it and looked around and noticed how much horizon or view is cut off when you're standing forward in the boat looking aft. And so we made a compromise and went up about 4 or 5 inches, and now because of the coach roof is being slanted, it actually slides up and forward, which also means that you have a lot more height underneath it when you're looking out and around. So sitting in the back of the boat, sitting inside the boat looking aft, you're not going to see as much solar panels as you would with it just a little bit lower. So as an old boss that I used to say is the devil's in the details, and getting the details right is really the difference. And so I could just say this is the way it's going to go and put it where it goes, but I like working with the customer and trying to come up with what both he and she would like the boat to be, and coming up with compromises, because that's what boats are, it's compromises. Coming up with the compromises to get the frame aesthetically pleasing and functioning the way we wanted it to function without shading. So they had talked about they really liked some of the showers that we put on some of the other boats, some of the rain showers on the aft deck. It's funny that the shower is probably the least versatile and expensive, but it's the one that the customers really like a lot. It's the one where they write back later and they say, I never knew how nice that was going to be standing out there in the middle of nowhere taking a nice hot shower outside. So anyway, that's that for this portion. Once we get this mocked up and figured out for the height and the angle, then I have to figure out where the down legs go to also support a shower. So that's next.
So as I'm sure you guys are well aware in YouTube land that we're a couple weeks ahead of whenever these videos release. So I can tell you, I've already seen the answer to a lot of these questions on how things are going on this Summerland 40 FP, and it is sweet. This episode just covered a lot of the layout and planning kind of stuff, early phases, but what you're gonna see in the next episode is getting a lot of these questions answered, right? How did the induction cooktop install go? Did they integrate a cutting board with that, or what really worked around the customer's needs? How did the electronics fit inside that room? Did they fit at all? Did they have like some huge struggle around that because it was not so easy? And watching how they got that inverter in there is hilarious. I really can't wait for you guys to see that. But I think one of the coolest things that I wasn't really anticipating is the solar array that they're putting across the back and the coach roof that is part of just the, the roof of the boat itself. There's a gap that's there, and stopping water from ingressing and flooding down whenever it rains so that it doesn't land on people that are sitting in the aft stern rear of the boat is a really big deal. And how do you seal that up in these two different surfaces at such different elevations? Water is a difficult thing to deal with. And so the solution that they work out around that, I'm really excited to see what it's going to be, because something like that cannot be very easy. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you on the next episode of the On Deck channel.